Hello, my friends. Here I am again making another video. This video is a follow-up to the last video that I made, which explained my healing technique step by step, the different parts that consist of a therapy with me. I recorded it in 30 minutes, which was already quite long, and didn't think of actually doing what I am about to do now, is recounting the tales and the effects of some of the energetic healings that I've performed. I'm going to give about a little bit under 10 examples of different things that have happened after, during, and after an energetic therapy session. The reason I wish to recount these tales is, first of all, to illustrate how powerful energetic therapy actually is. Of course, these are things that have happened during my sessions, and I cannot speak for anyone else. But I have consistently received reactions to the work that I do that shows that, in fact, even though this might seem to be a sort of invisible therapy, there are very physical effects. I also illustrate these examples for people who have gifts in the field of energetic healing, and I encourage those of you who have these gifts to actually pursue developing your talents in order to help others. So when I first started, I had really no clue that I had access to these multiple dimensions to assist people in their actual healing. When we talk about healing, I am actually just a facilitator. I have a special gift to access certain dimensions, to access your soul and different frequencies in order for you to heal yourself, if that makes sense. I often use the example of a cut. If you get a cut on your hand and you go to the doctor is going to know how many stitches to put in, what thread to use in order to pull the skin together. But it's actually the body that is doing its own healing. So I like to make this parallel in what I do, is that I know what tools and I have the experience and knowledge to help you repair yourself. It's your soul repairing yourself with assistance from someone who knows what they're doing. So I just want to make it clear when I talk about my healing treatments, I'm not a magician in the sense that I am waving a magic wand and all of a sudden you're healed. In fact, I'm bringing you through a process in which you meet yourself, and your regeneration and your alignment and catalyst actually happens within yourself with my assistance. So I'm going to give a few examples which were very powerful in my own journey, which really gave me the courage to continue and follow this path, because I can say from my own personal experience, I did not grow up with any of these sort of beliefs in energetic therapy or spirituality. I grew up in a family that was quite realistic and productive. And so even though I've been a soul that has been open and to all these energies from my birth, they didn't really actually become more prevalent, and did I start using them until after I had my own my own catalyst in my journey. I think I was 38 years old. I lived through a very traumatic divorce that completely shook my world and started forcing me to look for answers in different dimensions. Maybe I'll make another video explaining what my trauma is and how my spiritual awakening happened. But for now, what I really would like to do is to give some examples of what could happen during energetic practices. Again, to inspire others to continue down their path so that they develop their skills and take the courage necessary to walk down this invisible road, because there's so many people that you can help, and I support you. If you need to, if you need some guidance, please get in touch with me. All right, so I'm going to list at least 8 different examples. So, of course, I'm remaining anonymous. Everyone that I'm speaking about remains anonymous so that everyone has their experience be private. These are just examples, but they're true life stories. So once a lady came to me, and so we start out the session, again, 2 parts to my session. There's the verbal part and then there's the nonverbal part. In the verbal part, we sit down and we actually discuss what it is that is disturbing the person at that moment. And afterwards, once we identify the things that we want to work on, then we'll go pass on to the energetic healing in itself. Again, look back at my first video that explains exactly what I do. So for the first part of the session, we sat down, we started talking, and she just was saying things with her parents weren't working, with her brothers, her sisters, her this, her job, her this. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. There was so much going on that it was very difficult to try and unravel everything at once. And she was only coming for this one session. She happened to be from Morocco, and she flew into Paris and took a session with me through a recommendation. And I stopped her, I was listening to her, and I was trying to catch on and latch on to exactly which were the aspects that we were to work on. And I said, listen, there are way too many at this moment, and I'm going to generalize this. I said to her, I feel that as if you were a soil, like you were your body was a soil, and there's a lot of toxicity within you because of everything that's going on in your life and everything. Let's set the intention to actually remove all this toxicity. So this was the intention of our session. So the session went very well, sort of a classic. People, when they're lying down and I'm channeling energy into them, they fall into a meditative state, an alpha state, where they're actually working through things. And I would say that nothing was out of the ordinary up until then. And the following day, she gives me a phone call, and she says, "Hi, Catherine. Thank you so much for the session, the treatment. It was so wonderful, but I just have to ask you a question." She said, "When I left your apartment, I had to go meet with my mother-in-law in a restaurant, and in the taxi, I threw up everywhere." She said, "Is that normal?" And she said, I didn't answer right away. She continued the story. After, she was like, "I was so embarrassed. I threw up in the taxi. When I arrived to the restaurant, I threw up again." And she was mortified. Of course, she was mortified. She had to cancel the lunch with her mother-in-law. You can imagine. And her question was, is that normal? And before I answered her, I tried to understand what was going on, and all of a sudden hit me. I said, oh my gosh, didn't we set the intention during the energetic treatment to take out all the toxicity from your soil? Well, clearly, this is what happened. So a lot of times when you actually vomit things out, you are releasing all that toxicity that had been accumulating in your body. So that's the first example. That was quite powerful. Second example, a friend of mine, he had difficulties with his back. From the first time I ever met him, he had problems with his back. And I hadn't seen him for a long time, and we went out for lunch. And when he came to visit, to meet me at the lunch, he was limping. I was like, oh my gosh, this is starting to be a real problem. Please come and see me for a session. This is absolutely nuts. You need to take care of yourself urgently. I don't know what's going on. Please let me help you. So he came over for a session. He was very received the energy very easily. He has an energy that's very I can't explain, but magical energy, and can go into these states very easily. So what happened was he was lying on the table, and again we finished the actual treatment while I was channeling on the table. And at one point, I'm standing by him, and I wait for when I conclude, I kind of wait for the person to come back out of their state and come join me. But somehow I felt I had no idea what was going to happen, but something just told me that there was still, we concluded the treatment, but something was not done. And I'm standing there and I said, well, talk to me. And so he starts talking to me to explain how he felt during the session. And all of a sudden, he opens his mouth and I can see him, he wants to say something. And as the mouth opens and the words are just about to come out, but they don't come out, all of a sudden, this was absolutely incredible. His legs from the hips down all of a sudden started shaking uncontrollably for, I can't even tell how many minutes. I feel like it was 10 minutes, but I'm sure it was much less. But time stood still at that very instant. And the words that he was trying to come out with, all of a sudden, it felt like it's his body that started expulsing what he wanted to actually say. And it was a shock to both of us, because when your body starts, tremoring like that, you're not controlling it. And he's looking at me and I'm like, just ride through this. I was really holding a space for him to go through this process, to let those energies come out. And I had to do some heart work to kind of calm us down, because it was really so unexpected. It was just a trauma to see him releasing this energy at this with such intensity. And he was a few years older than me. He was 46 at the time, and I understood at that moment what was coming out is what he had been holding back in for so many years, for over 4 decades of his life. He had been holding things back, and this healing session actually enabled him to actually finally free all the stuff that had been just buried in for so long. And so I'm so grateful that I helped him get through that. After that, he actually he had to go continue down his path about his back, and he ended up getting surgery for his back, because they found out what it was, or I can't remember. It was something neurological. It doesn't matter. I'm out of the picture at this time, but I'm just supporting him during his path and the lessons he had to learn going down that journey. So that was absolutely a stunner for both of us. There was another friend of mine that did come for a session. Actually, it was a group session. There were a few of us healer friends, and she also had her whole body was shaking. Well, there were 2 of us. I have a collaborator. The 2 of us were working on her and sending her energy, and all of a sudden her body started shaking uncontrollably, and her eyes looked up at me, and she was so scared because she wasn't controlling what was happening, but her spirit had things that need to be shifted and moved, and so on and so forth. So we comforted her and held a space while she went through that. So this shaking action can often really release energies that are buried for so long. I have another person who came to me. Let's move into things that are a little bit less impressive, but just as impressive. He came to me. He was a very calm young gentleman, 26 years old, and we went through the session. Everything went out. He fell into the meditative state very, very easily. He was actually a very easy person to work with. And actually, he told me, so at the end of the treatment, as he was waking up to tell me the feedback, he was like, I don't know what just happened. It felt like 2 minutes just passed. Meanwhile, it was about an hour of energetic work on him, or even 1 hour to an hour and a half, something of that sort. And when he lifted up, when he started coming up off of the massage table. By the way, when I say massage table, you're fully clothed. This is not me giving a massage. It's just a table that people are lying down on so I can access and channel energy. So when he got up, his whole back was fully drenched in sweat. So clearly, and he wasn't moving at all during the session. He was just lying down there. But something was activated in his body on a deep level and just started sweating all that out. Again, sweat is also a way to release toxins. Another time I had a friend of mine come. I actually did light language on her. I didn't do a full-on session. But she actually, after she left, she got in touch with me to tell me that thank you so much, her period actually came. And she had been waiting, her period was stuck and it wasn't coming. And no, she wasn't pregnant, but this was a recurring problem of hers, that her period would not be coming at the right time in the cycle. And she said to me, thank you, because whatever happened in that light language, it completely catalyzed my period to coming. Speaking of which, just yesterday, the video that or just the other day when I was working on my video of explaining the steps of my treatment, my daughter came to announce to me, my daughter who's 13 years old, that she also got her period right at the moment that I was filming the video. And it just seems like such a synchronicity to me. I've been told numerous occasions I have an energy that really works deeply on the feminine. So it's super interesting. Another example, a young gentleman, friend of mine, actually was reluctant to come for a session, but I convinced him. I really felt, I as a friend, so I really knew his story, and I felt that his personal story, I want to say, I felt that he was holding a lot in his abdomen region. There is a movie, I forget what it is, and there's one of the characters, in order to, for bad energies not to disturb other people, he will take it and he will swallow it. And this is what I felt that my friend was doing, is that he was taking bad energy from around him and he was swallowing it to protect other people. And so he was lying down on the massage table, and after I did the drumming, I went to his abdomen region. I really felt called to his abdomen region, and I started speaking light language to his abdomen region. And all of a sudden, I hear him go. And now, mind you, he's a physical fitness coach. He's really good shape. And for a man to start making a noise as if something is hurting, immediately I looked at his face. I said, "Are you okay? What's going on?" He said, "I feel this energy in my stomach and it's actually lifting up." So that was actually an amazing moment where I recognized that actually this was being lifted up. All this negative stuff that I was feeling was actually coming and lifting off of his abdomen region. And he did tell me later that he felt I really did help him release that. Just a couple more examples. I had a young woman reserve me for a long distance treatment, and we did it. So if I'm not working with someone one-on-one directly, I can do it through Skype, for example. And she also, I felt like there was a lot of things that she needed to work on, and she I started drumming and over like this, over a conference call. And all of a sudden, she just burst out, and all the things that she'd been holding in for so long that she wasn't even aware of just started coming out in a tidal wave of cries and wailing, and it was so beautiful. I was with her. I could feel it in my stomach, and the stuff and the knots of things that were coming out. It was such an honor to assist her in releasing that. Now, once I another story. This was not someone who actually came to me for a treatment, but one day many years ago, this was sort of the beginning of when I started doing energetic therapy. And in the beginning, I didn't really believe in myself. I started off training in Reiki, and so I started practicing in Reiki, and people would say to me, "Whoa, you got a really clear energy," or "Your hands are super hot." And I'm like, "Oh, really? I didn't know that." This whole path of mine was so unassuming, and I kept being pushed on it, and I was very reluctant to actually step on this path. So I really encourage those of you who feel that you have something to assist with, just go ahead and do it, and follow your instincts, and follow whatever guiding spirits are guiding you. So one day, many years ago, I was I had a little puppy at the time, and I was walking my puppy, and I heard this music far away. I was in Parc la Villette at the time. I'm American living in Paris, and I don't know Paris that well, not all of the neighborhoods, even though I've been living here for quite a long time. It's been what 2002. It'll be 18 years this summer. So I didn't know the east side of Paris very well, and I was walking with my dog, and I heard this music, which brought me to the Cabaret Sauvage, which is a dance hall, and there was an outdoors party going on. And for some reason, my intuition told me just go in there. I'm like, but I have a dog. I'm not gonna go into a. Anyway, when I feel pushed, I don't contradict the push. I just go. And I felt so awkward. I'm in this party, this daytime party with people dancing around with my little puppy, with no one with me. And I'm like, what the heck am I doing? And so I sat down on the bench, and I'm watching people walk by and having fun. And here I am all by myself. And I'm like, what is this? And all of a sudden, this young guy, two young guys start walking towards me. And I was sitting on a bench, and it was a really hot day, and there was shade next to me. And one of the guys, his shirt was, their shirts were off. They were partying, and he was really in a bad state. He was hyperventilating. He wasn't well. I could tell something was wrong. And so he actually came to sit next to me in the shade to get some quiet, and try and heal himself or something. Well, all of a sudden my intuition was like, well, you need to propose him some energy therapy. And I'm like, no, heck no. We're in a public place. People are going to think I'm absolutely nuts. Like, oh, he's going to think I'm nuts. And anyway, my intuition pushed me so much. I had no choice, and I went up to him. I said, I do energy therapy. Do you want me to help you? And all of a sudden he's like, yes. Meanwhile, now I know what happened. He had no idea. He thought I was giving him a cup of water. He was in such a state that he couldn't even hear or think. He was open to any sort of assistance. So I said, okay, well, I don't really know what I'm doing right now, but sit down. And we sat down cross-legged, one in front of the other. And because I didn't have my protocol, because we weren't in an environment that I knew, he wasn't lying on a table, and I couldn't follow through my technique. I just sat down, and I put my hands on his lap, and I start connecting, and I start sending energy. And I see him, and he's like all bent over and not well, and really bad. And I start sending this, and all of a sudden, it was crazy. All of a sudden, I could feel something was going on in him. And he starts coming up, and a big smile comes on his face, and his eyes are still closed, and he's shaking his head and he opens his eyes, and he looks at me, And he says, I don't know what you just did, but I have never felt such a thing in my entire life. 5 minutes ago, this guy was ill, hyperventilating. 5 minutes later, he stands up. He's like, I feel great. Thank you so much. I'm going to continue partying. That was one of my first therapies that really wowed me. So I'm sharing you all these stories to give you an idea of how energetic therapy can have a very a reaction on the spot or right afterwards, a very physical reaction. I know that in my journey, I received these feedbacks and these reactions in order to convince me to continue doing them. I wouldn't be continuing them if they were nonsense, obviously. So there you go, a whole bunch of examples, very powerful examples, to make us all understand that there are things going on in different dimensions in the invisible realms that sometimes cannot be explained unless you actually are connected to what's going on in these invisible planes. Now, sometimes is it really that important to know what's happening? I think the results speak for themselves. Again, the healing is me facilitating and channeling a very pure and very powerful energy into someone for them to then get activated, catalyzed, or something to happen, whether it's a purge, whether it's an alignment of some sort. And I actually, when I do the channeling, I'm not even saying I want this to happen or that happen. I think perhaps this is why I'm a good channel, is because I just let the higher power use me as a tube, and to, my ego gets out of the way. I'm not controlling anything. I'm just hoping that I'm not wasting someone's time, and there you go. I get a lot of feedback, reactions on the spot. So it doesn't happen every single time. I have people come in, I do a therapeutic session. They're definitely deep into it, but nothing actually surfaces right on the spot. I'm not saying that every single therapy has its immediate reaction. No, not at all. Also depends on what the person who's coming is ready for and what they're wanting to live as an experience on a soul level at that very moment. Sometimes, people can come to me and say that they're ready and they're not ready. And I can tell that when I send the energy, it's not coming in full blast as I intend it, because the person is still not ready to receive all of it. And sometimes the energy that I send will trickle in bit by bit through the next few weeks. And so there's not an immediate reaction. So there you go. I've been speaking for almost 30 minutes now, and I really did want to share with you these stories, these real life stories, to encourage those of you who do have gifts to go ahead and have the courage to keep practicing and doing this to assist other people. And also to give you examples for whoever would like to work with me, to show you true life examples. Again, no guarantee of what will happen for you, but do know that a lot of people have had some pretty amazing results. So thank you again for listening to me, and I wish you all the best, and see you again at another video.